Good evening, this is Chompsky. We should be live. I'm going to double check real quick before we jump on the chart and start. Let's just take a quick look here. Yes, we are live. I'll go ahead and post this into
Good evening, this is Chompsky.
The Discord. I'm hearing myself talk. I've had a few questions, and I got a really big email with a lot of questions about the band, so I figured I'd just jump on here and try to answer them just a little bit, one at a time. And figured I might as well share the information for future users as well. And I'm going to go ahead and start streaming on the Discord so everybody can get on there as well. All right, so we are streaming on 2 platforms. I guess I might as well put it on X as well. We might as well just drop it everywhere, right? All right, so that should cover just about everything. I hope everyone had a good trading day today. Went okay for me. I actually ended up red. I think I went 1 for 1. I would have been green if I left my signals alone, but I didn't. I fooled around with them, which one I was using, and never got another signal. So it is what it is. But you gotta just play the game, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And that brings me to my first goal here, and that is to cover the risk disclosure for everybody. Let me just pull that up real quick. I'll do a screenshot so everyone has that. Usually have this ready. Yeah, so make sure that you know your risk when you are trading. Trading is not for everybody. It's very risky. If you don't know what you're doing, you can lose money. You can actually lose more money than you put into it. So make sure if you are trading, consider only trading what you would be considering money you can lose or risk capital, because you are more than likely to lose money. Unfortunately, most people do. So it's not a skill that you develop overnight. It does take time. And these indicators that I've developed do help me, but I do know that everyone trades extraordinarily different. So don't just jump in thinking it's going to work blindly. It doesn't seem to work that way for anybody. So take your time, though. I do offer free trials for at least a week. I want everyone who does try my indicators to either feel that they are for them before they buy them. And if they give them a good whack and they aren't, that's okay. Everyone has a different style. I don't want you to buy the indicators if you don't feel like they add value to your trading. So, all right, let's jump into this. The first thing I'm going to cover here, I'm going to go ahead and jump on a couple of these questions I actually got. This one's very common. It's actually in the guide if you look, but it's very easy to skip. So I guess what I'll do is I'll actually remove view and just have the bands on. And so this first one is if you open the bands and the only thing you see is that current day's price action, like there's nothing over here, there is a reason for that. The bands are actually coded to only show 1 day's worth of price action until you turn it off. So if you go into the band settings and go down to performance settings, and this is a performance enhancing setting, you want to uncheck the option to only load the current day's signals. Go ahead and unload that and hit apply, and you should start getting signals from the previous day. And as you see, I didn't have anything over here before, and now I do. It clearly worked. So that's one thing I see pop up time and time again. And I'll tell you another thing I do just for myself, and this is not something that you have to do, but just to clean up the chart a little bit, I like to turn off the MACD signals, at least to start. I don't tend to use them on my chart. I'm not saying they won't work on other charts. I know people that use them. So Yeah, if you want to test them and see if they work for you, you go right ahead. It's probably worth your time at least checking. I just tend to stick with the basic momentum signal. This is a signal I invented myself. I'm not saying that MACD is not a bad signal. For any momentum at all to work, you really have to have a few things in line. For those that do know what the momentum band is, it's this, or don't know what the momentum band is, it's the inner band, and only one side should open at a time on these bands. And so, as you can see, this band on the inside right there, that momentum band or pressure band, it depends on what you're looking at, that is going to be the direction generally that the price action is trending in. Now, you'll get some times where it will slightly open here and there, and you might get a false signal in there, but if you're watching the bands and you kind of get a feel for them, as you can see in a situation like this, you're going to get consolidation, and you're kind of waiting for the band to do something like this and then open up. So it does it right here. You see this big dip you get right there. So this would be a pretty good signal, but we didn't get anything triggering it because it has to cross right there. So here's one right here, this momentum signal. That did work out, it looks like, for a good scalp. And I'm on the ES. I don't ever use the ES personally anymore. I usually trade the M and Q. So forgive me, it's a little bit unfamiliar, but I figured that might be a good thing. So, because I don't use the the ES a lot, so this should be a little bit raw and real as you can probably get. So, just to move on, the other questions I was getting was a little bit about, let's see, the triangles. So it's not always going to happen, unfortunately, but what should happen is when you get a signal on the bands, this would have been a signal right here, but it reversed one bar too late, so it didn't give a signal. And then it comes back up here, and you get this pink coloration to the bands, and that is a signal band, is what that is. That's telling you, hey, it's getting into the oversold or overbought region, whichever one. And that's kind of your canary in the coal mine for a possible signal popping up. And so, oh, there we go. So what could happen here, it doesn't always happen, but what should happen is you should get a first arrow right here, like this. And if this one fails, if it fails to reach the exit band, you will get a second arrow, or a triangle, I guess, in this situation. And this concept is actually incorporating a concept invented, or at least brought to the market, as far as I know, by a guy named Al Brooks. And the way he talks about it, he says the market's going to try something usually twice. And if it's going to work, it's more likely to work the second time, so you have a little bit of a higher probability there. In this case, it took 3, which isn't, that's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal either. So you get 3 right here, and that can help with tuning and making sure your overbought and oversold regions are a little more in tune with your chart. And hopefully you get those better signals, and we'll talk about that in a second. But to do what I like to sometimes do if I'm trading is called what I call a band-to-band scalp. And what I do is I look at the exit band and I try to adjust it to where it's pretty much going to exit. Like, say we entered right in this area right here. I'm going to try to exit the second it closes across this band right here. And sometimes I do that manually. I'll just click close. But it's nice to have that option all pretty much automatic. And to do that, you want to look at your exit band. And the exit band is generally going to be set to about 32 out of the box. So around 14 on most charts, at least my chart, is usually close to a band-to-band exit. And there you go. You see that pink X right there? That pink X right there is going to throw a signal. So if you have a bot that'll accept signals, like the Predator, that's what I use, you can automatically have that bot exit for you, or you can design your own if you know how to use the strategy builder. There is a signal that will trigger if you want it to. The bands, if you go in them and then scroll to the very, very bottom, you're going to see a lot of signal names right there, and those are all different signals that can be programmed into a bot or strategy. If you know anything about doing that, and I know a lot of you don't, and that's fine. It's just something you can do if you do know how. If not, don't worry about it. That's why I actually prefer to use the Predator by TradeSaver. You can automatically throw it in there and it will take you out wherever your exit is. So, and if you're manually trading, you can just hit the exit button right there, but you got to be fast on some charts. So, and that's what I consider a band-to-band trade. So if I entered here and I wanted to exit as soon as it crossed that band and closed, that to me is a band-to-band trade. Now there's a lot of times where you see some momentum going, maybe it's bullish, bearish, whichever. This is more choppy, so I'm not really happy with this. This one's okay. Yeah, so you get a pretty strong push up here. You might be thinking, okay, there's more room up. Maybe there's a test on, man, there might be a channel here. And then you might be thinking there's a test to the rehighs here. Sometimes I do a scalp trying to get from one band to the other, the opposite direction, but I need to be pretty confident that I'm happy with my direction in that case, and that's not always an easy task. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into the next question. Check the chat real quick. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. You're more than welcome to throw your questions out there. I'll check Twitter too, just to make sure we didn't get anything there. I know it's a little bit late, so it's probably not going to have a lot of questions, but I didn't want to miss any if I did have some that popped up. So I think we're good. Pretty sure. Go ahead and give the video a like if you're watching on YouTube. It does help the algorithm. Helps other people get it out there and see it. All right, so real quick, back to the questions. I didn't see any, so if I missed your question, I'm sorry. I promise I'm not trying to run over anyone's questions and miss them. So real quick, just a coloration, just so people know. It's in the guide, but just if you didn't know, the blue arrows they're going to be your reversal arrows. You're going to have highlighted bars automatically on the second entries, and second entries are going to be they won't always, but they're usually going to be double triangles. I'm calling them arrows. They're really triangles. And they're going to be the buy and sell 2. So this is just buy for the first singles, and 2 will be for your doubles. And so you'll see those, and then you'll see golden, which is always the momentum. We talked about those just a second ago. As you can see here, we did have a band-to-band scalp. It worked out. And band-to-band scalps, I have to say, they're surprisingly profitable if you kind of know what you're doing in the right markets anyways. As far as I've seen, I can't say that and state that definitively, because there's always going to be a market time when they just don't work. And so, do your homework and try and figure out what market type that would be. If you're going to do that, practice. Don't just jump on the chart and expect it, because I do say they can be profitable, but at the same time, there are times when they are not profitable. So take your due diligence with you and make sure you do your homework, because there are going to be plenty of situations where they're not. And just turning the calculator on real quick to see, it looks like these actually aren't. So you'd have to probably play around a little bit more with the thresholds here and see if you couldn't make it a little bit more stringent on when and where it enters, but I just wanted to see for sure. And then you have the waves, which I don't think I've talked about those before in any other video. So let's go ahead and just touch base. Look at these, are all making band-to-band scalps on this day almost. The singles aren't, the doubles are, the second entries. No, this one did, but a lot of them are, which is pretty interesting. It's more than 1-to-1 in this case too. So anyways, back to the waves. The waves are pretty interesting. They're counting how many successful trades on the second entries you've had in a row without flipping bias to the other direction. And the waves will reset whenever that happens. So it's not always the best idea just to trade off of a wave, but if you see that the exits are working, and I say second entries, it could be either one. Let's see, in the third, fourth, this would be the fourth, this would be the fifth. So, and I don't think that's a second entry. Yeah, so it's either one really. But the thing is you're counting how many exits in a row you got without flipping bias. And so in this situation, you got up to 5. And the next one, if it's a double, it's going to report that wave, but it'll be yellow. And it'll basically tell you, hey, we're repeating a wave. The last one didn't work. And that can either be a good thing for you, or it's going to be a chance to just say, no, I don't want it. It's not working. Those trades aren't working. I'm done. I don't want to take the risk. And so sometimes it's a good thing to see that wave like right here. Okay, so you get a repeating wave 4. Sometimes it's a good thing because a repeating signal, uh, again, it's kind of that same mindset. You might have the second attempt to do something, and the second attempt is theoretically maybe higher probability. So in this situation, it worked. You got the first wave 4 up here, and you got the second one down here. It's yellow, and that's telling you, okay, you're getting a second chance on this, and it actually did work. The probabilities of that kind of fall in line a little bit with the mindset behind of a martingale or second entry. You're eventually going to win if you continue to lose. It's just the math probabilities. It's just it's going to come down to win. And in some of these situations, it'll come down to whether or not the trend is in your direction as well, or if it's too choppy, or if it's too powerful. And that will bring me into the next topic. And the next topic is the trend resilience. And so this is a very unique aspect to the bands that I definitely kind of warrant a little trial and error on, because it's not going to be the same over every chart. There's just going to be different calculations. But what this is doing, if you use the trend resilience, you probably don't exactly know what it's doing, so I want to try and explain it. The higher you put this level, the higher each loss is going to increase the threshold to reach another signal. So it's basically telling the equation inside of the bands, hey, we failed, and we've got to make it harder to reach a reversal. And so this is applying only to the second entries, but you will see a lot of second entries, if you increase this, start to fade away in really strong moving markets where you don't necessarily want to have a lot of entry signals, because it's going to just murder your win rate, and you're not going to win them. So kind of in a situation where you do have these stronger trend days, that's when these can really come in helpful. So right here we had a loss, so wave 4 lost. So in this case, this would have increased the resilience after that loss. So if we go in here and we just play around with it, you could probably see it real quick. Make it something really silly like a 0.5, so it really makes it hard for this signal to trigger. No, not there. So let's make it a 2 or something really ridiculous. And there you go. So I don't know exactly where it is, but this caused just bumping it up and losing right here. Basically said, okay, we're going to take the threshold and add 2 to multiplier by 2. And so you wouldn't want that setting, but just to visualize it, you can see how, I'm not exactly sure where it even comes back. 1.25 maybe. I think it was there at just 1 point. I want to say. No, it's not. Okay, so it's not there at 1. I thought it was. Oh, it's 0.5. So 0.75, something like that. So if you have a situation where you're like, you may be able to test out your chart really well, or you just test this out enough that you kind of see that, and you don't necessarily want to keep losing in strong markets, it's definitely something you might want to play with. It's like in this case here, you get the loss here, and then it really has to strengthen. I mean, it has to get really, really oversold for it to, or overbought to even trigger one. In this case, it didn't. So let's go ahead and we'll lower it just a little bit, and you can see how in some of these situations you'll get that first one, and then you eventually get a second one. I don't see, okay, this is the second one up here. In fact, I get 2. You can tell by the pink bars. Yeah, cell. I think that's a cell 2. No, it's not a cell 2, so that's not one. So I don't even know if it populated another one, cell 1. Yeah, so that's too strong as well. It never officially got back up. That's a pretty high setting. I usually leave mine around 0.01 or something really low, because once you start playing around with it, you can really cut signals out fast that you don't want to cut out, especially if you're getting towards a level. But okay, so here we go. Yeah, that definitely added to it quite a bit. So you end up getting one here, skip, 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 and then you get, you have to go all the way up here to get a double signal. And so that's kind of how the resilience works. You can potentially eliminate some losers, like this was a loser signal here. I thought it was. It may still be. I kind of see something under there. I'm not sure. But you don't get this one losing, and you don't get this one losing. You do get this one losing. So that's kind of the mindset anyways up behind that. Let's see, what else did we have? It seemed like there was some other stuff here. Yellow X's. Okay, so just to recap on the X's, the gold and pink X's are just your exits. That's the exit band that it's hitting. I know we touched on it earlier with the pink exits. For longs, it's going to be yellow. I want to make sure everyone has just a clear understanding of that before we go on any further. And I think for tonight, I might go ahead and just call it. There is a lot more we could dig into, but I feel like we did a pretty good job, and I didn't want this video to get too much longer, because we could actually just sit here and talk all night if we really wanted to. But just in the interest of time, and it is a Monday night, I'm going to go ahead and call it a video, and I wish everybody luck for the rest of the week. If you're trading, if not, that's fine. I totally get it. Big news week, so be sure to keep your eye on the news. It usually means there's going to be some chops, so not always, but does tend to happen quite a bit. So I wish you success, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.